Welcome back, smart retirees, for another great episode of your Smart Retirement Podcast. This is your co-host, Matt Hollander, and as always, joined here with Mr. Jeff Shulam. Jeff, how we doing?
Excellent. How are you?
I am super excited. Leaving tomorrow for Maui for a week.
Whoa.
Closing the office, just getting out and doing exactly what I want to do. It's going to be great.
So everybody call me if you have any retirement advice, because he's going to be in the laps of luxury. You can do some scuba diving?
I'm absolutely going to do some scuba diving.
Awesome.
Maybe go rent some ATVs and go play off-road a little bit and do all that fun stuff.
Excellent. So, you say you're going to Maui?
Maui, yep.
You gotta give me some Kona coffee, please.
I can do that. Yeah, actually, during the pandemic last year, I had a friend decide to buy a house down there just to get away, and he was tired of being in San Diego, of all places. I like San Diego, but I guess eventually you can get tired of it, right? It's like anything else.
I assume your friend is not in retirement mode at this point?
I think, and that's going to be a great topic for today's conversation, is really trying to figure out what do we consider retirement.
Exactly.
This friend of mine is in his 50s and makes a good amount of money, but he's kind of gotten himself into a business where he can just kind of be on the phone maybe an hour or two a day, his own boss, and just rolls with it. Has checks just coming in on a daily basis. So is he really retired? I mean, if you're working an hour or two a day, are you retired? I don't know.
I don't know. What's your definition of retirement?
I think at the end of the day, for a lot of people, retirement's going to be that thought process of probably not having to go into that 9 to 5 or not really answering the phone anymore, when it comes to business things. But, at the end of the day, I don't know that I'll ever really retire. I enjoy what I do. I just won't want to do as much of it, right?
Right.
So being able to have that freedom to walk away when you want to and just kind of turn off the switch, and it's a well-oiled machine, if you will, that can run itself. I would say that's maybe when you kind of hit that retirement stage. Unless you're getting to the point of the business and you're trying to get out of it, right? We've got a few of our racing buddies that, Jeff, we've talked to out at the track, and, they've had their business for 30, 40 years, and they sell the business, and then they're like, okay, I'm bored. Now what? Right?
So sounds like the definition would be to not have to work or work as much, and at the same token, give you the ability or the freedom to be able to do what you always really wanted to do, right?
Sure.
And I guess as we get older, we probably know what those things might be, and we probably have some kind of bucket list of some sort, maybe, that we all have either mentally or we've written it down that we want to do when we have the freedom to be able to do that, or be it retirement or not. Mm-hmm. And some of those things on that list might be more adventurous than others, that might require some kind of physical skill, or let's maybe talk about, a risk level that we might have when we're in our 30s and 40s, but might not have when we're in our 60s and 70s, right?
Sure.
So I thought, wouldn't it be nice to be able to have, let's call it, mini retirement vacations earlier in your life that you kind of felt that you needed to do when you're retired, but maybe because of the risk tolerance and things like that, that maybe you should consider doing earlier on in life, right?
I'm all about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. I think our listeners have gotten to know us over now, our 52nd episode. I tend to stay pretty busy outside of work between racing and traveling and just having a good time. So I'm all about that, mini retirement vacation proposal. Let's do it.
Well, that kind of brings us to, I thought, a good topic of, that I didn't coin the phrase. I'm sure I've heard it someplace, but it's called life begins on the edge of your comfort zone, and I guess that would be a great topic for today to maybe talk about, because especially between you and I know I've witnessed it personally. I've been racing for 13, 14 years now, and you came on board racing, I don't know what, last 4 or 5 years
Yep.
ago. And, you're a lot younger and you have a different risk tolerance than I do. And right off the bat, you just, came out really strong. And I know it was mentally hard to take, because I thought, well, I have the wisdom and the skills, but you had the balls, excuse me, you had the guts to be able to, go faster and deeper into a corner and things like that. And where my risk tolerance is here, yours might be here. And, that's my comfort zone, and your comfort zone is maybe way up here. And maybe we talk about that. What does that mean? What is a comfort zone when it comes to racing? I mean, maybe is it being on the edge of where the tires are gripping versus there's that little bit of slipstream, or a little bit of slippage? Maybe you could probably talk about that a little bit better than I can. But each tire, for example, have the maximum grip when it's sliding 6%. I don't know how to describe it, but it's an interesting concept that maybe listeners would be interested in.
Yeah, and
hearing.
I think with that, coming back to your edge of the comfort zone, you can look at the tire as kind of that edge for sure. There's a lot of gentleman drivers, I would say, that are out there as well, that probably aren't as competitive as you and I are, and are just out there for fun. And they're not going to push the car to anywhere near to where that tire is going to be on the edge of losing grip, right? Now you're probably going to push it a little bit more than them, and I'm going to go fully past it and then try to bring it back in, right?
Right.
That's one of the things I've always done with any of my driving is a lot of car control skills. And Jeff, you've been in the car with me, so you can attest to it. But being able to control the car right at that edge, that's when I'm really having fun on the racetrack too. I don't like to go out and just turn laps. I like to be right on the edge. You remember the movie Rush? Okay, so
course.
for listeners, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. It's a movie that is based on events back in the mid to late 70s in Formula One. Features Niki Lauda and James Hunt. And Niki Lauda is this very particular guy, I would say, and everything had to be just perfect. He was kind of I don't want to pick on you engineers out there that might be listening to this podcast, but it's the one that always has those spreadsheets done in your retirement, has the budget, has everything, right? Whereas James Hunt, he's the party boy, right? He makes good money. He was having caviar and champagne flown into the racetrack during the events, and just totally partying. And Nikki looks at him one day and kind of said, you can't keep this lifestyle up. You're going to kill yourself. And James said, something along the lines of, you only live once, right? And he had every intention to enjoy life to the fullest. And I think that there's a different level of comfort for everyone of how they want to live their lives, right? I sit here and I do plans all the time for individuals trying to figure out, hey, do we have enough money to live, right, to your life expectancy? I've had clients tell me they want to spend every dollar and be done by 80, right? But I have to look at them and say, well, what happens if you live past 80? Then they say, well, I'll go in a nursing home or something. So who knows, right? Or they'll have the equity in the home that they could sell and or even reverse mortgage it and create an income stream on it. So there's some options there for sure. But I think this mini retirement vacations, you got to figure out how to plan those into your life, right? There is ways to do it inside of planning. When putting in a financial plan, if you say, hey, Matt, I want to do a mini retirement vacation every 5 years, right? Give me a budget. Mm-hmm. Let's put it into your lifetime income plan and see if it works, right? Callers, we offer this to or listeners, we offer this just about everyone that wants to call in. 866-53-RETIRE. Again, that's 866-53-RETIRE. You can call in. We'll put together a lifetime income plan for you. We can look at your income, your expenses, what your assets look like, and kind of help you plan down this road of how this might look for you in your retirement. So, hey, Jeff, let's go ahead and do this. Let's take a quick break and get a word from our sponsors. When we come back, let's dive into a little bit more about how life begins on the edge of your comfort zone. So, listeners, stick around. We'll be right back for more Smart Retirement Podcast. Welcome back, Smart Retirees, from that short break. During the break, Jeff and I were discussing a little bit, and you want to call it like an analogy almost, but going back and looking over the last year, right, Jeff? Let's go back in, and why don't you talk a little bit about what you're thinking now as far as what retirement is, because a lot of people think retirement's just not working, right?
Well, exactly, and we kind of got a glimpse of what that could look like depending on your situation. But during COVID, if all of a sudden you weren't going into the office and you may have or may not have been working, that's kind of what retirement may look like to some, right? So how did you react to that? I mean, granted, we couldn't go outside and we couldn't travel, but if that was a glimpse of what retirement could look like, how did you deal with it? I mean, did you wind up doing some of those things that you always wanted to do, hobby-wise? Did you catch up with, fixing up the house and cleaning up the house or whatever? Just spending more time with family. But could you now do that for, I don't know, what's the average retirement? 20 years?
Yeah, usually I love to call it a 20 to 30 year vacation.
Right. I mean, can you imagine doing that now for 30 years?
Right. Well, and making sure that you're planned properly as well. This pandemic this last year, it took everyone by surprise, right?
Right.
There were definitely some planners that had things, set aside. But, you talk to a typical financial advisor, they're going to tell you 3 months worth of expenses is what you should keep. Well, like some, people haven't been going out. Some are just starting to go back, and they've been out of work now for a year. Did you have proper planning set up to do so? And that goes back to your mini retirement vacations is how do we plan those in, right?
Right.
So, listeners, one thing I want you to do right now is grab a piece of paper and write bucket list on it and put your top 5 things, right? And let's figure out how we make them happen, right? Is it taking a few more hours at work over the next few years and budgeting properly to be able to afford going and doing it, right? And then when we're looking at budgeting for something like this, it's crucial that, if it's $5,000 now, we need to add in inflation so you can afford to do it in that 5 years, not only in the sense of what the dollar or the currency difference, if you're traveling out of the country, that might make things a little more difficult to plan for, but really what that's going to look like. So, we talk about it, and Jeff, I know you're new on coming on the show, but you've listened to a lot of the episodes. I can't preach enough to everyone that having a proper plan is absolutely crucial for retirement, and it's never too early to start that plan, right? But just creating a plan doesn't, it doesn't end there, right? It's something that should be done on an annual basis, which, when I meet with my clients, I really enjoy doing it. The first one, you don't really know your client yet, right? But when I'm doing my quarterly reviews with them, we're talking, getting to know them about their families, what they like to do. Then it's that, hey, Bob, when you retire and you have all this free time, what are you going to be doing, right? We're adding in these additional expenses that probably weren't planned for in our initial intake meeting, right? And it's really fulfilling as an individual to get to learn about all your clients. That's why I enjoy what I do. I'm not a sales guy. I'm a people person. That's what it comes down to. And when you take the sales aspect out of it and you're just helping people get what they want, it's nice.
That's awesome. I mean, most people would think that a retirement plan is just about the numbers, but it really is more about, what are you going to do and what is going to be your purpose to getting up every day, and what's maybe the cost associated with that, so that you can plan for it, right? I mean, no one wants to just sit in front of a TV for 30 years, right? And
Who knows if they're going to be healthy enough, being able to do that too, right? But what I find is some retirees start focusing on the things that they should be doing on their day-to-days, and their health goes down, right? And if you don't have your health, what are you going to do in retirement? You're going to be miserable, so you got to stay active. You got to be making good decisions with your eating and everything else. I think we could go as far as saying that health is probably as important or more important than the money aspect of it. Right?
I'm no expert in this, but I know that I have a pretty active lifestyle, of which I think it's that lifestyle and the goals that I want to accomplish that keeps me youthful. It keeps me in good health.
Yep.
Right? I know that deep down inside that if I want to go racing, I got to be in shape. I went to the doctors yesterday, and I had to get a physical we have to get a physical every 2 years. And after I did this one test, that the doctor came in and said, listen, the score is between 0 and 900, and 300 is bad. You got a 3.
Yep.
I was very happy to hear that, and I think he just assumed that everything else was healthy about me. But when he went through the checklist, it was like yes, no, because it feels good.
Yeah.
But it's because of the goal or the lifestyle that I have that I work towards that. I do CrossFit 4 times a week. I eat healthy. I exercise. Because racing is very physical, and so I want to be competitive. But I think that's keeping me youthful or keeping me healthy at the same time.
I look at the amount we sweat when we're in the cars. I mean, it's brutal. And I remember an event last year. We were out in Fontana. It was 117 degrees. So 117 degrees outside. The cars don't have air conditioning. You're in a full fire suit, in a helmet. It's 100. Right. I think someone put one of those radar temperature guns, that we've been seeing everywhere that you go these days. Inside the car, it was 147 degrees inside the car. So you add on a fire suit and everything like that. You've got to be very well hydrated, and it's definitely a physical sport. You watch it on TV and you think, these guys are just out racing a bunch of cars. No, the majority of them are really, really good athletes as well. I want to reference back to one of our other episodes that we did not too long ago. This would have been March of this year. Episode 44. It was the part 1 of the value of preventing healthcare costs in retirement. I actually had my personal doctor, Dr. Ken Oda, on the show for a little over 45 minutes. And he really talked about things in retirement and how important your health is and things that you can be doing to stay on track and better yourselves as you're, approaching retirement. So just want to reference back to that.
So let me ask you this: if I knew that on my bucket list there was going to be certain activities or events or certain things I want to be able to do, I assume that you would take a conservative approach to estimate what those activities would cost to be able to build that into the plan.
Absolutely. But then we also have to look at you on a personal level, right? And know how extravagant you're going to want to do it. And then how do we pay for it? I'd love to go to Europe. Believe it or not, listeners, I've never been to Europe. As much as I like to travel, never been there. As soon as COVID and stuff's over, I'm going. I'd love to be able to go for a month, right? 2 months. Fortunately, I can run this business pretty much wherever, especially with the going through COVID, really realizing, most of my clients, even though they're 70 years old, can get on a Zoom meeting, is pretty nice, right? Might not be able to take on new clients by any means, so I've got to say, okay, what could I possibly be doing over there to maybe earn some money, right? Whether it be if I'm going somewhere and I really want to go scuba diving, maybe I get a little part-time gig where I go and do tours to help pay for some of the things. Whatever your hobby might be, you might be able to find a way to supplement some of the expense of that bucket list item, right?
Exactly.
So,
I know for me, I have a mini retirement vacation that I would love to be able to do. I saw this one episode of Chef's Table that took place in Patagonia.
Okay.
And this chef cooked with fire, and it was just in the background was Patagonia, and I was just like, oh, I gotta go. It just looks so amazing. But at the same time, I've always wanted to learn how to tango, right? Argentina. I would love to be able to go there for a month and learn how to tango. But at the same time, I played polo, and I know Argentina has the best polo players in the world, but maybe I can learn how to play polo better, and maybe even teach English and live on the beach. I know that the cost of living down there is just so much less. So I know it's going to be harder to predict what to budget for, but obviously if you predict for worst case scenarios, and then once you get there, you can find that you might be able to offset some of those expenses, limited living expenses, with some kind of income.
You definitely.
And be able to live on the beach for a couple $1,000s a month versus in Malibu, it's $30,000 a month, right?
Sure.
So these mini vacations could be not as expensive as you think, and I think that it's something that you should think about as far as your retirement plan is concerned, and at the same time, add this extra element of risk into the plan, in the sense that you might be eager about doing something when you retire, but really look at deep down inside in yourself and say, will I be physically fit or to be able to do some of these things? If you want to go skydiving, I don't know if your doctor at 70 is going to say, yeah, go skydiving. You might have a heart attack. Right?
I've got an 82-year-old client that still skydives.
Oh, yeah, well, that's all right. But I'm sure that that's what keeps him young, too. I mean, this whole life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. So to me, I grasp what that really means, is that you and I have experienced bliss when we had a perfect lap, right? Each one of you listeners must have something that you've probably experienced in the past that made you so happy, and that's probably something that pushed you beyond your normal comfort zone, and that's the whole topic of today's podcast. But think about that, because I think that those are the things that you should be doing now versus in the future, because they probably are going to require a lot more risk and
Sure.
physical health and the motivation that to be able to do
Well,
some
I've
of
got a
those
racing
things.
into retirement idea, because if we're talking about trying to do, these mini retirement vacations early, I think we need to race into retirement, right? What if, let's say you've got this car that's maybe you financed it, and it's just about to be paid off, right? So rather than running out and buying that brand new car that you're going to have payments on again, go out if your credit's decent. Lenders are starting to open up these the 0% cards for 12 to 18 months again. They're starting to offer them. I'm getting offers all the time for them now. Go on this vacation, retirement vacation, and rather than purchase that new car, budget it in such a way that that payment that you would have been paying for that year to year and a half now is going to be paying back that credit card. Now, the key to this is making sure you do it on a 0% card, so you're not having to pay interest on your vacation. Easy tip.
Great, I love it.
So, at least that's, some people say, well, I don't, I like to pay off my balance on a credit card every month. I get it. But again, you'll be paid off before you retire if you do it in such a manner that you budget for it. And, Jeff, you hit the nail on the head. If you don't have the health to be able to go out and do these things, because they have a little bit more risk and a little bit more wear and tear on your body, this might be a way to do it.
Well, you were saying that your friend that has the place in Maui, has kind of a business that allows him the freedom to be able to do this, as well as it sounds like the passive income to be able to do it. And a lot of you might not have that kind of capability, but you might have 4 weeks of vacation that's built up that you might still be able to get away for 4 weeks at a time. Right, so but in the meantime, you might want to start thinking about. I know last week we talked about being an employer versus an employee, but is there something out there that you could be doing to create this kind of passive income? And it doesn't necessarily have to be work related. I mean, I do something called covered calls, and I've been doing it now on a weekly basis. It's kind of like a part-time job for me. That every week I'm rolling over this instrument called options, and it brings in nice passive income, and it basically takes me 2 hours a week to do it. So there's other things that can help create this income coming in without a lot of work that you can do anywhere around the world, basically, as well.
So, here's a thought. You've got a place that you like to go on vacation to, right? You buy a house there, okay? You rent it out as an Airbnb or a VRBO, one of those services that are out there that can help guide traffic into the home for you, and get a local property management company to just kind of take care of it. You've now got, if it's in a decent enough area, that thing's going to be rented out. I'd probably be willing to bet 50 to 65% of the year without an issue, especially right now with everyone traveling. You should be able to cover the cost of the mortgage on the property if you don't have the cash sitting around. And then if you don't go to it that year, utilize the cash and go vacation wherever else you want to go. And maybe you find another place. You do another one. You start buying these vacation destination rental properties, and you've got the pick of where you want to go.
Matt, have you ever been to Costa Rica? Listeners, we were very fortunate to have a good friend of mine set us up in a really nice villa in Costa Rica that was obviously owned by somebody else, but boy, that would have been a nice place to have purchased. It had the best view, had a nice little pool overlooking the bay, and what really made that place was those
swings,
little hammocks.
Oh man, those were so good.
Those little swings. We'll have to post a picture of that, because to me that just said vacation, right? And it was just so relaxing to be down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I like that.
Well,
I like that a lot. But I think, for me, another mini vacation would be going to Europe and maybe going to the different racetracks, or maybe picking the Formula One events and trying to schedule a trip around those events, and being able to go to the Formula One events and then hanging out for a couple days afterwards to see if we can get on the track and actually experienced what the Formula One drivers would do. Those are the things that I would be passionate about if I were to take these mini vacations, and I'm sure you would probably want to think about that too. And yes, they might be expensive, but at the same time, I would make a priority of doing that, because those are the types of things that I would want to do when I was younger versus older.
Well,
so
like we always say in planning, everyone's risk tolerance kind of changes as they get older, right? So, and I think the same is going to be true with these mini retirement vacations for sure. So, but,
absolutely.
Jeff, I know there's some other topics inside of this, life beginning on the edge of your comfort zone, and I want to try to keep this episode kind of short, go into the next one, and we can dive a little bit further into it. Maybe come up with some topics and ideas of, really how to obtain this a little bit more. We threw out a couple decent ideas as far as, maybe waiting on the car, buying some real estate. But, there's a slew of different ways I think you and I can come up with and help these smart retirees really make the most out of their retirement. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can get a little more specific into what is it like to be able to not have to think about work for a month, and the things that you would want to do to set yourself up to be able to do that. As far as people that are trying to contact you and how to delegate certain things and how to put your bills on automatic pay, and little things like that we can talk about that I think would be really beneficial for those, because it can be easy if you had a checklist on how to go away for a month at a time. I've done it numerous times in my lifetime. I've been to 34 countries, and I want to get to 100.
We got some traveling to do. Is that what you're saying?
I got a goal.
I said you're saying we've got some traveling to do. I'm in.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
I'm in. Listeners, just as a reminder, we're here to help, and we want you to be able to start enjoying some of these mini retirement vacations early on. And we're here to help plan on how to do it, help you put a plan together, and then stay around with you as the years go by to help you continue meeting these goals and everything that you're wanting to achieve. So 866-53-RETIRE. Again, that's 866-53-RETIRE. Option 1 will get you to myself. Option 3 will get you to Mr. Jeff Shulam. And option 2, if you've got any mortgage questions and things like that, that was Mike Points, who has stepped away for a little bit here on the Smart Retirement Podcast. So, Jeff, anything else that you want to just wrap up with today, or should we save it for the next one?
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Hopefully I'll have a nice tan for the next episode. Listeners, if you haven't already, make sure to go check us out on YouTube, Smart Retirement Podcast. We've got our own channel now. We're starting to get some episodes on there. Need the viewership, need your help boosting that up like you've had over the years now, boosting us up on Apple and Spotify and all those other streaming platforms. We really appreciate it. So with that, Jeff, thanks for joining me today, and let's go out and make the rest of our lives the best of our lives.
The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide or construed as providing specific investment advice. Any economic forecasts set forth in this podcast may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee the strategies promoted will be successful. All performance reference is historical and is no guarantee of future results. Investing involves risks, including the potential loss of principal. No investment strategy or risk management technique can guarantee return or eliminate risk in all market environments. Thanks for tuning into this podcast. California license number 0175638, NMLS number 1246224.